This is Heart to Heart with Sbongile Mofokeng on Radio Pulpit. Heart to Heart.
Great and mighty is our God. Great and mighty is our God. He's faithful. And he says, let all God's people say, how mighty is our God. Sometimes you don't feel like it, ne? Sometimes it doesn't look like it. But let me tell you, he is great and mighty. He is greater than the situation or circumstance that you might be finding yourself going through. And yes, my family, it's a beautiful Friday. God is so good. I'm looking forward to Sunday. I haven't been in church because I was not feeling well. I haven't been in church for some weeks. Now I am so excited. I can't wait for Sunday to come. I wish Sunday was today or tomorrow so that I can also go fellowship and be with brethren. Hi, family. It is Heart to Heart. And how are you doing? Have you been fellowshipping? How has it been going? Some I know are opening their churches for the first time this weekend. I saw our very own Mpoputini. They are also opening, they are having their first Sunday this Sunday at AFM Reimsech. And I've seen many others who are going to church this Sunday. Make sure that this year you draw nigh unto the Lord. Boy, even with fellowship, he says we should not forsake the gathering of brethren. So don't do that in 2025. Make sure that you are there. It is Heart to Heart with you up until 3 o'clock. I'm Sbongile Mofokeng. I'm joined by a very beautiful queen. She looks so 2025.
We're ready.
I'm talking to a text specialist and I'm talking to Patricia Komari this afternoon. Are you good?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So have you been fellowshipping? How has it been going? Or was your church also on holiday like other churches?
The church was open, but I was at my parents' house.
So you're fellowshipping with mom and dad.
Yes.
Oh, that's nice. That's awesome. I'm sure you're bringing blessings from mom and dad.
Always. Always.
So for sure you're like me. You're looking forward to Sunday.
No, I am. Oh, it's been a while. It'll be good to see the family. Yeah.
Yeah. Ne?
Yeah.
You can be off from church for like a week and you feel like, it's
Something
been a month.
is wrong.
Yeah. And so in 2025, we should make sure that we do fellowship. But I love that you do not only fellowship in church. You fellowship with other women also, and especially business women. And you're always in fellowship. And that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, we're not meant to be in isolation, right?
Yeah.
So it is important to fellowship.
Yeah.
And how do we grow without that?
And then do you talk about text when you're there? That's you.
It's like talking about
That's
sweets,
you.
bread, food. It'll come in somehow, somewhere.
So today we are going back to provincial, provisional tax.
Yeah.
Why does my tongue get
For
twisted?
individuals.
Yeah. So let's go there. So who qualifies for that?
Okay. So maybe just a recap. Like last time we were here, we talked about non-provisional tax, right? Who then had to submit their tax return by the 20th of October. And we had mentioned that there's another group of people
in Feb, ne?
In January.
Is it in Jan until Feb?
20th of January.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the tax return then is going to be due this month.
Yeah.
On the 20th.
Isn't like in a couple of days time.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes. So who are they? These are individuals, right? Who either fall within the certain criterias. You either are employed, but for whatever reason, your employer is not registered for employees tax. Because remember, when you're employed and you are you qualify to pay taxes, then your employer would deduct pay as you earn. So you might find that in your situation, your employer is actually not registered. So therefore, they're not deducting.
So it's your responsibility.
Now it becomes your responsibility, right? And then because there isn't that deduction that is happening on a monthly basis, you become a provisional taxpayer, right? Or you are you run a business. So that can be, you can call yourself either an independent contractor, a freelancer, you've got a side hustle. I guess the new terms in our generation, content,
All right.
Yeah.
Are they also included?
They're also included.
Aibo.
Because remember, you're running a business. That's a business.
Yeah, and it is.
Yeah, you're running a business.
Yeah, and it is.
And
you're getting paid. Like your
you're getting
YouTube
paid.
can pay you.
YouTube can pay
yeah,
you.
on Facebook, some advert, if they're running adverts on your content, then they pay you.
Exactly.
You get paid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now people are even getting gigs with different brands.
As a
from
result.
that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So now that's a business. So you also then are provisional taxpayer. Then there's another category of if you are generating the following income, right? But the taxable income of that is more than 30,000. So for simplicity, when I say taxable income, I'm just going to say profit. The income, whatever you're receiving, let's say you've got 10,000, minus the expenses that are deductible for tax purposes, 3,000, and you've got 7,000. So they're looking at that 7,000, right? So if your profit is less than 30,000, then you are also a provisional taxpayer. So if you've got rental income, you don't necessarily have other businesses, but you've got rental income or you've got an investment and you generate interest. And that interest is more than 30,000 Rand, right? Or your rental income after all your deductions, water and electricity and all of those things, it's more than 30,000 Rand. Then you also become a provisional taxpayer.
So if it's less, then you are not.
If it's less than 30,000,
it's not automatic.
It's good to be back. If it's less than 30,000, then yes, you are not a provisional taxpayer.
Okay. Also, you don't fall under that bracket.
You don't fall under that bracket. If it happens that that's the only income that you're generating, right? Yeah.
I wonder how many people who are into digital create. Yes.
Yeah.
How many do see it as as work, and how many do pay tax from that?
That's actually very interesting. I think right now it's more 50-50. Okay, and this is my own stats. I haven't actually seen any stats on that. But the reason why I'm saying this is I've just noted, based on conversations that you'd have with people, that there's quite a lot of people who are not aware that now this is income.
It's just like somebody who's selling at the corner there, who's selling veg and fruits.
Yeah. Yeah. And technically, even that's someone who's selling at the corner supposed to pay taxes.
Of course.
It's just that I guess it's hard to track them, right? And if they don't have the knowledge, then it's hard for them to...
It becomes harder if the money doesn't even go into the bank.
It becomes harder even if the money doesn't go to the bank.
Yeah, especially if it's given on the hand. But with digital creators, I would expect the money to go into the bank, SARS will be questioning, okay, where did the money come from?
Exactly.
So if you're a digital, we're coming back to provisional tax paying, but if you are a digital creator, for example, do you have to register yourself now? Because normally we would expect a company that is registered to be the one that is taxed. Even that person who's doing a side hustle at the corner selling scones every morning, then go to work, drive to work after all the scones are sold at 7:00. So as long as it doesn't go, but should they be registering?
Yes. So when it comes to digital content, creators, they would have to register for tax in their personal capacity. If you already have your tax number, then you're great, you're sorted, right? You don't need two separate tax numbers for your other stuff and for the digital content income that you're generating. Everything is going to fall into one because now everything comes under your name as Patricia, right? So if you do not have the tax number already, then you do need to go to SARS to register. That is very important. And especially now, I think I mentioned this last year, it's going to be more intense this year. You know, last year SARS was on a roll.
Lenient, kind of.
Yeah, right? And through that, and especially with technology, AI and etc., things are improving. So they are going to find out more information quicker and more than they did before.
Okay.
Right? So just make sure that you get yourself registered. You can go to SARS branch to get yourself registered or contact consultants to assist you. But it's compulsory. You
Yeah.
do not have a choice.
Yeah. So, all right. Now, there are those parents who are using their children. And you find the name that's there, it's the child's name.
Okay.
And we are all following, oh, cute, million likes.
Yeah.
And the child is what? They would endorse.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would endorse, they would see them advertising this and that.
Yeah.
So that child also should be registered with SARS because the parents might find themselves in trouble with SARS.
That's an interesting question. And I'm going to say, don't hold me to this. All right. But once again, it's not automatic.
Okay.
It would depend on how the scenario looks, right?
All right.
You've got the child who's doing the advertising and they've got an Instagram page and etc. Right? Money is flowing. Who's receiving the money?
The parents normally.
So if the parent is receiving the money, then that means the money belongs to the parents. It's just that the child is their product, right?
The prop
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Okay,
But
so
if it
repent.
happens,
Yeah, I
yes.
have to wash my tongue.
but if it happens that the child is actually, because there are
those parents who take the money and put it aside for the child.
yes, and think of the youngsters, you know, who about your TV, right? You would have the young artists and etc. They're getting paid in their personal capacity. They're not getting, the parent is not getting paid. It's the children who are getting paid. Then that means then they also become liable. But like I said, this is something that I would have to do proper research on because children are minor and I haven't really looked into
What
the
text
tax implications
says when
for-
it
yeah.
comes to the children.
Yeah.
All right. So if one is a freelancer or a digital creator, what expenses can they deduct from their income?
Wow, that's a list.
Is it?
Yeah, because think about it. If you're meeting with your clients at a coffee shop or whatever, you're paying for that, right? Oh, we're assuming you're paying for that. That's entertainment. You can deduct that, right? The phone calls that you're making to your clients or whoever you're dealing with, work-related for the content purposes, that you can deduct, right?
Okay.
When you go to a studio to do your pod or whatever, the rental that you're being charged to use that studio, that is deductible. Your software systems that you're using, you know, Abo, Canva, Adobe, whatever the case might be.
You pay for them.
You're paying for them. That is deductible, right? If you've bought assets, there's depreciation on the assets. You can deduct that as well. If it happens that you're using your home office, right, to do your business, then
So you're sending emails.
you're sending emails and stuff, that's also deductible. But the actual rent that you pay or bond that you pay, a portion of it is deductible based on the space that you're using. And I should also just put a disclaimer here. There's a lot of other requirements for you to meet that specific requirement, but then it's called home office deductions, right?
Okay.
So you can deduct that as well. The bank charges, you can deduct. Anything relating to you doing the work that you need to do as a content digital creator.
Haibo.
It's deductible.
Wait, so the email, you can also deduct from that because we do pay for having that email. You know, with your Gmail, for example, for
Yeah,
you to
the
have
domain.
the domain, for you to have not even the one where it's written in your name. It can be a Gmail account,
Yeah.
but you're paying Google
Yes.
to have a space. Yeah,
Yes.
it's still domain to have that space, and they tell you no, you need now your space is getting limited. Grow it,
Yeah.
and then you buy the whatever one. Google whatever,
Yeah.
and then your space is bigger, and you keep that for a month and every month. So you can claim for that. You can
You
deduct.
can claim that if you're using it for your content.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
But what if now? Okay, now I know we're talking digital content and freelancers. But what if freelancers can also be some side of a business of some sort.
Yes.
So even if you're running your business there, you can claim such.
If you're running your business and your business is not registered,
Yeah,
right?
then you can't.
If your business is registered, then that becomes expenses of the business, of the company.
But if it's your name,
But if it's your name and you're doing your business as a freelancer, like you mentioned, right? So everything is done by Subongile, then that's deductible, yes.
but Alon, I don't think we knew.
There's a lot of expenses that you can deduct as a freelancer
And
or as a person who's doing any form of business.
Yeah.
You just have to ask yourself the question of what expenses relate to this
what I
business
do
that I'm doing.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. So you will be taxed, but you can also make your own deductions from whatever that you do.
Correct.
And that can also help you that you might find you don't owe, but at the end of the day, SARS is the one that owes you.
No. So this is where
Not automatical. All right.
so this is where now the difference comes in, right?
Okay.
Because remember, when SARS pays you back, what do you call it? You call it a refund, right? So what does refund mean? You should have paid something first to SARS.
Yes.
And if it's over, then SARS pays you back what you've paid over.
Okay.
Right? So now because of freelancers or the people that we're talking about now, the provisional taxpayers, you find yourself in a position where there's nobody who's deducting pay as you earn or taxes on a monthly basis that is being paid to SARS.
Yeah.
So now because of that, you might find yourself in a situation where there's no refund.
Okay.
Unless if you've paid your provisional tax for those 2 periods, right? And you've paid over. Then you might get a refund. And if you get a refund, then yeah, you're right.
Oh,
then
okay.
yeah, SARS might pay you back.
And now, if you are a freelancer with the international clients, I have somebody that I know personally,
Yeah.
very, in this space somewhere. And this
Somewhere.
person did or does like something with au pair, but outside of South Africa.
Yeah.
So in that case, if one is doing such, do they have to pay tax in South Africa as well? Or how does it work?
I love this question. So, not automatic. there
Does it depend on the amount?
Yes
And no.
No.
All right.
There's 3 scenarios in this question, right? Scenario 1, let's say Sibongile is in South Africa, right? Sibongile is known as a South African citizen for tax purposes, right? We're not really looking at what the Home Affairs says. This is now just specific for tax purposes.
Yeah.
You're considered as a South African resident. You've got a client in America, right? You're doing work remotely, but you're in South Africa, right?
Yeah.
So that income is taxable in South Africa because you as Sibongile, you are the source. And because you are the source, you physically and the services that you're providing are within South Africa, right? And therefore, that income is considered as a South African source, even though your client is outside of the country. So then that automatically becomes taxable in South Africa, right? So that's scenario number 1. Scenario number 2, you might find what you're referring to, the au pair, right? Let's say she's in America. And she's receiving income. The income is more than 1.2 million rand. She is a South African resident, right? She then will have to pay taxes in South Africa. There might be some agreement between South Africa and America because of, remember now the fact that you're in America is also saying this is our income. We want to be taxed. We want to receive the tax. South Africa is saying, yeah, but because she's a South African and we tax on worldwide, that tax belongs to us. Okay? So now the 2 countries come into an agreement and say, okay, fine. This is what we're going to say. If this income is based on whatever the decisions that they make, right? Then it'll be taxed in America or be taxed in South Africa. So if it is taxed in South Africa, that's the agreement. Then that means whatever taxes they've paid in America will be deducted when you're doing your calculation in South Africa so that you don't have to pay taxes twice. Right? If it happens that your income is less than 1.2 million, you don't have to pay taxes in South Africa because then there's that exemption.
All right.
But if you're considered as a tax resident in South Africa, you still need to submit your tax returns. So
All
the
right.
tax return part you still need to submit, right? But you might not be taxed in South Africa, just depending on what your situation looks like.
It depends on your situation.
Yeah,
Not automatic.
never black
All
and
right,
white.
let's take a break. I see you, Tebuho Mofokeng. Hello to you. Thank you so much for joining in and being with us. And Muruti Pepsi, Khabotso Tetsi, hello to you. And thank you, family, for being with us. You can talk to us. You are a provisional taxpayer. You got questions, or you're a taxpayer, any taxpayer. You can ask your questions while our tax specialist is with us. And we are coming back, taking the sound of King D music, a hero. Let me remind you the number 012-334-1322. You can call in on that number. You can use it to call in 012-334-1322. You can also send us a WhatsApp, the WhatsApp number. It's 082-657-2729, And you can also send us an SMS, 37871. We're coming back.
Oh God, you're my hero.
This is Heart to Heart with Sibongile Mofokeng on Radio Pulpit. Heart to Heart.
In an exciting development for the Garden Route, Radio Pulpit has expanded its reach to this region. It's time to tell your friends and family to listen to Radio Pulpit with the push of a button. Although listeners in the Garden Route will not be able to tune into Radio Pulpit 657 AM on medium wave, they can now listen live on radiopulpit.co.za, DSTV 882, OpenView 607 and the Radio Pulpit app. Also follow us on social media and listen to our podcasts.
The search continues for top quality South African Christian music. If you are a new artist or releasing a new CD, then send it to Radio Pulpit. For more information, please visit the Radio Pulpit website. That's www.radiopulpit.co.za. Or phone us during office hours 012 334 1200. Radio Pulpit, your daily companion.
That's where you're at. It is Radio Pulpit, your daily companion. You're on 657 AM. Gave you King D Music Hero. And yes, our Lord Jesus Christ is our hero. And we are grateful to have him in our lives as our Lord and Savior. Family, I'm not alone. I'm with our tech specialist, Patricia Komani. I'm excited. We are starting with text. And you said the provisional tax will be closed when?
Of January.
The 20th of January.
Yes, and that is for the tax returns for the financial year of 2024.
Yeah. So then opening for 2025 now later on as well.
2025 then will be opened around July.
Okay.
So I'm glad that you actually asked that question because with a provisional taxpayer, right, they have 3 tax returns that they need to submit in a year.
Okay.
Right? The first 2 are an estimate. Because remember, like we mentioned earlier, as a provisional taxpayer, you're not paying taxes on a monthly basis. So then what SARS did was they created the system, which is now called the provisional taxes, right? To say, since you're not paying on a monthly basis, let's help you in paying within 6 months, right? So that when you submit your annual tax return, which we're doing now, you don't have a huge lump sum to pay at once. So that is one of the reasons. And the second reason, I guess,
Make
is for
it
the cash
easier
flow.
on you.
Yeah, it's the cash flow for them. So now, because for individuals, your tax period is from March to February, like you mentioned at the beginning, right? March to February. So meaning that in March to February, in August, making the first 6 months, you would submit a tax return, right? And then in February, which is next month, you'd submit another tax return, right? Then when the tax season opens, then you would submit the relevant annual income tax return, right? So that annual income tax return is what everybody who hasn't already submitted their tax returns as provisional taxpayers will be submitting now. For 2025 provisional tax return, then it will be due next month. So meaning that these provisional taxpayers, currently they've got 2 tax returns that they need to be thinking about. For 2024, which is due this month. For 2025, the provisional tax return due next month.
Okay. All right. So if a person says the company that I work for pays my salary, but I have a side hustle, am I also a provisional taxpayer?
You are a provisional taxpayer if your side hustle makes a
30,000.
Correct. Excuse us.
So what if I thought I was a provincial taxpayer and I didn't submit my tax returns like you're talking about the 20th and all that.
Yeah.
Now, after this conversation, I realized that I'm not a provincial taxpayer. What should I do?
You should submit immediately because that means you are now late.
Are you already in penalties if you are?
You are already in penalties.
Hi, boy. Even before the 20th.
Remember, your deadline was for non-provisional taxpayer was last year, October. All right? So then that means you've missed, I don't know how many months that is, from October to now.
November, December, like 2 months already into it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So submit as soon as possible. And the good thing is when you submit your tax return, SARS will will be able to tell or stipulate whether you're a provisional taxpayer or not based on the information that you're submitting. So if it happens that you thought you were a provisional taxpayer, submit your tax return still. And if you're not a provisional taxpayer, unfortunately, there will be that penalty. If you're lucky, you might not be penalized. But at least you know that's done. Because remember, whether you're a provisional taxpayer or not, you are required to submit your tax return. If it happens that you are a provisional taxpayer, right, then you still got time. You've got until the 20th. So if you're not sure, I'd say submit immediately.
If you're not sure, call NPK.
Oh, yes, please do.
If you're not sure, call NPK. At least they're back at work, so they'll be able to assist. But now, here's the thing. You spoke about penalties. Did you say that we are able to, I can calculate my penalties as well to say how much, like speculate? Is it possible to calculate those?
It is possible to calculate. There's different types of penalties for a provisional taxpayer. The first one would be late submission, right? Or late payment. Okay. That is 10%. Right?
Of what?
Of your tax.
Okay.
So if your tax is 20,000 Rand, then it would be 10% on that. Okay. Right? For the other one, it's split into two scenarios. So the first scenario is if you underestimated your submission on your provisional tax returns. Remember those two tax returns that I mentioned about? The ones that are broken into 6 months, right? If you underestimated the amount and your profit is less than R1 million or R1 million going down, right? Okay. Then the difference between the tax on the profit, the actual, and what you had put, if it's 90% different, so maybe let's put in numbers here. Let's say that your actual amount was supposed to be 100,000 Rand, right? And then you had stipulated that it is 89,000 Rand, right? So meaning that now it's the 89,000 Rand is less than the 90%, right? So now they're going to say, okay, fine. What is the tax on the 100,000 Rand? Okay. So let's say the tax on the 100,000 Rand is 10,000 Rand for simplicity. And then on the 89,000 Rand, it's 8,900, right? You say 10,000 minus 8,900, that difference times 20%. Okay. That would be your penalty.
All right. So now if it's 2 months in, does it accumulate?
Penalties
Because what you just said, it's just for that month, right? The penalty for that, for missing the payment, actually.
Yeah.
So what if I've missed the payment like in 2 months already?
So you'll be penalized once.
Oh, okay.
And then on a monthly basis, you'll be charged interest.
And we don't know how much?
The interest is based on the prescribed rate. So whatever that prescribed rate at that moment, that's what the interest, that's the percentage that they'll be charging.
Ooh, so it's very important not to miss.
No, you can't. Because it goes back to what I keep saying. You are literally donating to SARS money that you don't have to. Yeah.
All right.
I'll give you an example. There is somebody that I was talking to. This is a different tax altogether, right? But just to show how prompt the system is. They were supposed to submit employees' tax on the 7th. Okay. They missed it, and they realized on the 8th that, I forgot to submit.
A day after.
The 10% penalty was already charged.
Yeah.
So that is just to say, just do yourself a favor and submit on time. And remember, it's a percentage. So then that means how much you're paying can be literally anything. If now you have to pay 100,000 Rand tax, your penalty is 10%. That's 10,000 Rand. If you're paying 1 million Rand tax, your penalty is 10%. That's 100,000 Rand, right? So sometimes I think we become too relaxed, like, oh no, I'm only going to pay taxes for 500 Rand, so therefore I can take my time, right? But think about that money. You could have used it for something else, whether it's considered small or big. So if you can, in terms of late payments, penalties, that is, for provisional tax, then submit. And I think I just need to say something here. Non-provisional taxpayers, right? you do not get penalized for late payment.
Late payment.
Yeah.
I mean, late submission.
You get penalized for late submission.
Okay.
You
But
want
not late payment.
Yeah,
Okay.
you just get interest
Okay.
charged. Yeah,
All right. Interest charged every month.
every month
And
until you pay.
also, what if you are paying, but small?
You still
As
get
Bavenda would say, stukutuku. Yes.
you'd still get. Remember, SARS is a business, so think about the
Yeah,
bank.
they're making business. I mean, like they have to build roads and all that. So
Exactly.
if they can get whatever, then they will. Yeah.
So think of the bank, right? When you owe the bank, you take a personal loan or whatever loan, but then there's a loan, right?
Yeah.
Even though you're paying on a monthly basis, they still charge you interest on the balance until you pay, right? It's the same principle. SARS does exactly the same thing.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that they're in business of tax, but
Okay.
it's a business.
So if this year I'm a provisional taxpayer, does it mean automatically, I know it's not automatic, but does it automatically mean that even next year I'll remain a provisional taxpayer?
No,
So it depends on your circumstance.
it depends
if you're
on
still
your
running that.
circumstances. Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
So if I continue being a content producer, then it means Avel.
Exactly.
So what if I don't make, but I'm continuing, but the money is no longer enough. It's no longer 30. It doesn't go to 30. Or sometimes it's 30,000. And then the next month it's 2,000. And the other month it's back. And
Yeah.
you know the graph must,
Yeah,
because it's
yeah.
business. So
Yeah.
what if that happens?
So, firstly, the 30,000 profit, right? It's for the whole year.
It's not for per month.
It's not per month. It's
It's for the whole year.
Yeah.
So if they calculate everything that you have done for the year, all right.
Yeah, correct. And if it happens that for that year, then your profit is less,
Then you don't pay.
then you are not a provisional taxpayer. You might pay because
But you submit.
you submit.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
And then this is the part that I also go back to the whole threshold, your tax threshold. Because remember, now we're talking about individuals, right? And then we had said that if your threshold is 97,000 Rand, do I remember the number? 95,000 Rand, 750, right? If you've made profit of 95,000 Rand, 750 in a year, then any amount after that, you'll be paying tax. So for somebody who only is a content or a freelancer or independent contractor, and they've made a profit of less than 30,000 Rand, right? Then the chances are very high that they might not pay taxes simply because of the threshold that they're in. But
All
you
right.
still have to submit the tax return.
Yeah, so if you're making 30,000 per month, obvious. Obvious.
And this is where the important part is for you to actually keep record of your expenses.
I'm like, yeah, because my mind now is running to the monthly one because at the end of the year you would have made what 360,000. So automatically, all right, this one, I love the fact that it's you are a provisional taxpayer. All right. So every month make what did you just say? You were talking about
Oh, yeah. This is why it's important to keep records of your expenses, right?
Okay.
Because going back to the whole, let's say you're making 30,000 Rand. You might be receiving 30,000 Rand income, but how much is your profit after all the expenses you've deducted them?
But now, how do I prove that when I met with Patricia, it was for business? It was for my content producing or for my whatever, my freelancing,
Yeah.
whatever. So I took you out and we ate. How do I prove? Because it might be that I was on a date, nje, and then, so how do I prove that?
So, one, it's just your integrity, right? There's certain things that it's very hard to prove, like you mentioned. So then that just goes back to you as a person in terms of your integrity. That's one. Two, it also depends on where you're going, what you buy. And I guess it also depends, once again, the kind of business that you're in, right? So, for example, let's say Patricia has NPK she doesn't have NPK as a company, right? So she's doing accounting and tax in her personal capacity. The chances of me meeting a client at 10 p.m., for dinner, it's very slim, right? It doesn't necessarily go with the kind of business that I'm dealing with.
What I've seen with the content producers, I'm going back to them
Yeah.
because I've seen them having, like, they would even have a party for specifically the content producing. Because they want to grow in that space and they
Yes.
want influencers in that space.
Yes.
So they would even host a huge party. It might be at from 6 to 10 p.m., whatever the time might be.
Yes. So with them, then that it becomes fine because of the industry that they're in.
Okay.
So that's the other way, I guess, that SARS can sort of like try to gauge on how honest you are.
All
What
right.
industry are you in?
Okay.
What is permissible within your industry?
Oh,
right?
okay.
And going back to that example, the party, that's also deductible because you're doing it for business purposes.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay then. My queen, your time is so not on our side. And I see you, Frank Jacobs. You tuned in. You're like greeting. Hello to you. Thank you. And you're like, great show. I hope you're paying your taxes. I know Frank does pay his taxes. My queen, what do we say in closure?
In closure, if you're a provisional taxpayer, please ensure that you submit your tax return for 2024 tax year before the 20th, right? If you're not sure whether you're a provisional taxpayer or a non-provisional taxpayer, but you have not submitted your tax return as yet for the 2024 tax period, submit it anyway, right?
All right.
Because better submit now than delaying. That just makes the scenario worse for you, right?
Yeah.
And back to the provisional taxpayers, content, digital creators, freelancers, side hustlers, whatever name you want to call yourself, keep record of your expenses. I'll always emphasize this. It makes a huge difference in terms of the taxes that you might pay. You might find yourself in a position where you don't have to pay taxes because you've recorded your expenses.
All right. So I'm quickly, I know we are left with 2 minutes now because I have to go to the 1:00 news bulletin. But now I want you to quickly talk about that person who is working for a company that is paying tax. They're running their tax and all
Yeah.
that, but also running a side hustle on the side.
Nice.
So how do they calculate the amount that I have to pay for? Because I think you would also fall into a provisional taxpayer, right?
You would if your side hustle income is more than the 30K, right?
Okay.
So what would happen, let's say...
So they separate the two worlds in your life.
No.
Okay.
When you are separating...
Yes.
You sound like, oh, man.
Yeah, I am.
So when you submit your tax return, right, as an
Yeah.
individual, you submit with all your information for income. Your salary would be there. Your side hustle would be there. Your interest income, if you receive interest income, every income that Sibongile has generated will be there, right?
But let's say your company does submit for you.
So companies never submit for you. They
All
just
right.
pay taxes on your behalf.
They pay taxes, but there's something they submit as well at SARS. But
The
you also,
RP5.
yes, and then they also give you yours to go
Yeah.
submit.
So the RP5, it's not that they're necessarily submitting
Oh,
for you.
okay.
They're disclosing it to SARS,
Okay,
right?
that hey, this is the person that
Yes,
all right.
yes.
And we pay them. I mean, this is the tax deducted from their salary.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So then you have to submit the income tax return. right?
Yourself.
Yourself.
Yeah.
And because you now have included everything else, because remember the company can submit on your behalf. They don't know about your other
Side hustle.
side hustles and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so let's say the total taxes with everything is 10,000 Rand, right? Your company has paid, your employer has paid 5,000 Rand. You will only pay the 5,000, the difference of 5,000 Rand. Yeah. So it's not that now it will be the 7,000 and then now another 10,000. You will just pay the difference of whatever that amount is.
So they add everything plus your side hustle.
Everything
And
plus
then
your side hustle.
all of that when added.
Yes.
It should be less than then it says you're not qualifying. But if it goes to 30 and beyond, then you pay.
The 30 is for the income of your side hustle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So the salary part, then they don't even look at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's a done deal.
That's a done deal. Yeah.
My queen, thank you so much for talking to us on this awesome Friday.
Always a
Always
pleasure.
exciting to be talking to you. So if you'd like to be in contact with NPK, how do we do so in 2025?
You can call us on 011 702. Actually, just forgot the number. 702 8041.
Okay.
Right. Or email us at info@npkconsultancy.co.za. And you can follow us at all social platforms as NPK Consultancy.
All right. So it's 011 700 8140. Is it now 702?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's 011 702 8140.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, my queen. I can't wait to be talking to you some more as we continue. Make sure, family, that you get very close to NPK, especially where your tax is concerned. Even if you are late, I am definitely sure there's something they can do for you right there. Am I right?
Definitely. There's always a solution.
NPK is the way to go. Alrighty then. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
657 Radio Pulpit News.